Hello again, friends. Are you buying or selling property in the US as a foreign national? If so, you might have heard about FIRPTA, the Foreign Investment in Real Property Tax Act. But here's an important question. Who's actually responsible for FIRPTA withholding? Is it the buyer, the seller, the real estate agent, the title company? Stick around, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly who's responsible and how to avoid costly mistakes. Let's go. Okay, let's start with the basics. What is FIRPTA? FIRPTA is a federal law requiring buyers of U.S. real estate from foreign sellers to withhold up to 15% of the property sales price and send it to the IRS. Why does this rule exist? To ensure that foreign sellers pay the necessary taxes on their U.S. property sales. Sounds straightforward, right? But the responsibility for withholding isn't always clear. Let's talk about it. Here's the deal. Under FIRPTA, the buyer is responsible for withholding the required amount, ensuring it's sent to the IRS. Yes, you heard that right. It's on the buyer, not the seller, to make sure this happens. If the buyer doesn't withhold the proper amount, they could be held liable for the full amount owed, plus penalties and interest. You're probably asking yourself, why the buyer? Isn't the seller the one who's subject to the withholding? Yes, but the IRS sees the buyer as the party in control of the transaction. They're the ones paying the seller and can ensure the funds are set aside. But don't worry, there are processes and professionals like us to help. So, what about the seller? The seller's main role is to provide the necessary documentation to determine whether withholding is required. For example, a seller can apply for a withholding certificate from the IRS if they believe the amount withheld should be reduced or eliminated based on their tax liability. Escrow agents, real estate attorneys, and title companies often step in to facilitate the withholding and payment process. They'll calculate the amount, ensure the funds are withheld at closing, and submit them to the IRS. However, this doesn't shift legal responsibility from the buyer. These professionals are there to assist, but can't take on the buyer's responsibility. Are there situations where withholding isn't required? Yes. Here are a few key exceptions. 1. When the sales price is $300,000 or less, if the buyer plans to use the property as their primary residence for at least half of the year, withholding may not apply. 2. The seller provides a withholding certificate. This certificate from the IRS can reduce or eliminate the withholding requirement. And 3. If the seller is a U.S. taxpayer. If the seller provides proof of being a U.S. resident or citizen, FIRPTA doesn't apply. Understanding these exceptions can save both buyers and sellers a lot of money and stress. If you're a buyer, here's what you need to do to stay compliant with FIRPTA. Verify the seller's status. Ask for proof of whether the seller is a foreign person. This is usually a W-9 or W-8BN form. Work with professionals. Hire a CPA, enrolled agent, or tax advisor who has experience with FIRPTA to guide you through the process, and submit the proper form. Use IRS Forms 8288 and 8288A to report and remit the withholding within 20 days of the transaction closing. So, to sum it up, under FIRPTA, the buyer is primarily responsible for withholding and submitting the funds to the IRS. Sellers and professionals can assist, but the buck stops with the buyer. Don't let this overwhelm you. With the right team and preparation, it's manageable. Got questions about FIRPTA or other real estate topics? Drop them in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more expert tips. See you in the next video.